me. But nowadays, on account of this false propaganda, you're told, oh no, nothing will happen. You can adjust the situation. If you get sick, you go to the hospital. If you lose your job, you just go to school and you get more knowledge, you get a better job. One way or another, you'll be happy. But actually, that's a lie. You can't be happy in this material world. You can't be happy as long as you have a body that's growing old. One man was very intelligent here and said, actually, there's no question of a living body. Because the body is dying from the day you take your birth. You start to die. So what kind of happiness is it for a dead man? A man who's on his deathbed, do you say to him, how do you feel, Charlie? You pretty happy? Do you say that to him? Hey, you doing all right? You're happy today? The man's about to die, and you're asking, well, we're about to die. At any moment, you may walk out of here and a lightning bolt may hit your head. Or you may slip and fall down 10 rows and, you know, die, crack your head. So death can come at any moment. But where's the knowledge to tell you what happens to the soul or life after death? That education is not being given. In fact, you'll find that in many countries today, there's what they call separation of church and state. Do they have that in Fiji? I don't know if they do. What that means is that the government cannot promote any religion. Is that here? Yeah. Same thing, right? Yeah. So the government says that we're totally non-sectarian. But that's the wrong word. It's not that they're non-sectarian, they're atheistic. Non-sectarian means I don't give any preference to one religion over another. I encourage all of them. But atheism means I discourage them all. Now, when I say encouragement, it's the real duty of the government to teach not only material knowledge, but spiritual knowledge as well. But the government is failing in that part. I'm sure not only here, everywhere in the world it's failing. And what is the result? Oh, the whole world is becoming more and more burdened with crime and so many other problems. Wars are breaking out. I named just some of the problems. So books which teach, you see, of this knowledge of the goal of life and the existence of life beyond this body are very important books. So you'll be interested to know, for example, that these textbooks that I'm talking about that we publish, some of them we have displayed here, they're being used now. They have been purchased in the full set by more than 4,000 universities throughout the world. And actually, there are courses which are beginning now in the existence of the anti-material particle, also called the soul, within the body, and how to perceive it. The method which we use, as I said, is a school system which teaches. It's called Gurukul. It's start Brahmachari Gurukuli, Vishandanto Guruarhitan. This is Sanskrit, which means that the student is supposed to live with the teacher. And nowadays, that doesn't go on, because if you live with your teacher's sense gratification would be stopped. Because the teachers, they want to have a good time. They don't want to be burdened with their students all the time. But in the old days, the student would live with the teacher. And the teacher would go on teaching not only academic subjects, but morality also, and all other important subjects. So in our school systems, we're doing that. The student lives with the teacher 24 hours all the time. And then, when he grows up and graduates from school, he's a first-class citizen, a first-class human being. He's a credit to any country. Nowadays, students, graduate and they don't have that type of moral training. At least they don't get it from the educational system of the university or a high school. So we're also distributing books. For instance, we have distributed in the last 10 years nearly 100 million books of this type throughout the world, published in nearly 50 languages. And people are taking them with great interest. People are very happy to gain this knowledge for the first time. The difference between life and dead matter. So our point tonight is simply this, that we request everyone that you should consider what is the goal of life and who am I? These two questions should be asked. Who am I and what is the goal of life? At the other night at the Civic Center, we asked this question, who are you? So people gave me so many answers based upon this body. You see, they gave answers only about the body. Very few people could answer, I'm the life force, the soul within the body. So we request everybody to get some of this literature and learn who you are. As soon as you know who you are, you'll begin to know what you want to do. Just like if you think you're Fijian, then you'll say, oh, I want to do something for my country. But then again, if you think you're American, you'll say, I want to do something for America. But actually, you're none of those things. That's why a man is a Fijian who works for his country, just like another person, Mahatma Gandhi. He's a famous person in India. He lived his whole life serving his country, and how did he end? Someone shot him dead at the end of his life. They shot him dead, just like John Kennedy, someone shot him dead. So even though you work so hard to work for your country, at any moment you can be shot dead. Because these type of goals, working for development of different things like this, are all right, but only all right if you also include the knowledge of teaching someone who they are beyond this body. Yes, now you have a Fijian body. Now you have an Indian body. Now you have an American body. That's all right. You have duties which regard those types of bodies. But beyond those duties, there's a higher duty. And that duty is to get out of this prison house of the material world. That duty is to return to your original nature of eternity, knowledge, and bliss. You have to return your soul back to the kingdom of God. Anyone who does that can actually be said to be an educated man. But if you don't have that knowledge, which is actually the king of knowledge, as to who you are and what the goal of life is, then actually your training is only partially done, and you're not fully qualified in real knowledge. So this is our statement about what is the difference between a dead body and a living body. And if any of you have any questions, I thought now we could have a little open discussion. What do you think about this statement which I made? Yes, sir?
You had compared life, the human life, with the fish out of the water, which wouldn't be happy no matter what's done to it, unless it is put back into the sea. Because it's out of its place.
Correct. Out of its natural environment.
Yeah. And, well, someone did that. Someone put the fish out of the water. So, why and who? Who is not so important, but why is more important?
Okay.
Are we put out of the environment?
Okay. So the question is, if a fish is taken out of the water, he suffers. And this person agrees that he would suffer. And he agrees also that we're suffering because we're out of our natural environment. That is to say, we are no longer in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. So his question is, who or why have we come out of this kingdom of God? It's obvious. It's just like a fire, you know. When you're in a fire, someone set that fire. It developed somehow. No one will argue that a fire causes suffering. Similarly, I don't think any intelligent man would argue that this material life is also got a lot of suffering in it, apart from a lot of joy. So the question is, why have we come here? So the answer is that the soul has got free will. And that free will enables us to either love God or forget God. If you say, why didn't God create us only so that we could love Him, then that is not love. Because love is not forced. Love is freely given. Just like if you love someone, no one is forcing you to love them, but you love them of your own accord. So similarly, we are in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God, as long as we want to. But when we become envious of God, then we fall down into this material world. That means that actually everyone in this material world has a disease. And that disease is that we all think ourselves to be God. Not perhaps the supreme creator, although even people have that illusion. But at least some of us think, or everyone thinks to some extent, I'm the master of the situation. I'm controlling. So this tendency to lord it over or control is the actual function of God. And our function is to be the servant of God. But as long as we envy God's masterful position, we are given a chance to come into the material world where each of us can make believe that we're God. In other words, actually you can't blame the government for creating a prison house. The blame falls on the citizens who broke the law of the government. The government has to open a correction institution like a prison because some people are criminals. So similarly, we can't blame God for our coming in this world because we're criminals. We willfully used our free choice to break the law of God. Therefore, God has created this material world as a correctional institution where we're supposed to learn once again how to follow the laws of God.